The silver palace of Silesia glowed under 3 moons. Princess Zora stood at her window, her purple eyes fixed on the night sky. Her long silver hair floated gently in the air, moving with her emotions like all Silesians' hair did. Right now, it waved with worry. Strange lights had appeared in the sky 2 hours ago. They were not stars. They were not meteors. They were ships. Ships that no one on Silesia had ever seen before. "Your Highness." Guard Captain Kell burst through the door. His usually neat uniform was messy, showing how fast he had run to reach her. "The council needs you immediately." Zora turned from the window. "What are they?" "Those lights in the sky." "They call themselves humans, Your Highness." Kell's voice shook slightly. They sent us a message. They want to land. To talk." Zora's hair swirled faster around her head. In all of Silesia's 5,000 years of history, no other alien race had ever visited them. Her people had chosen to stay hidden, using their advanced technology to keep their beautiful world secret from the rest of the galaxy. Until now. The council chamber was chaos when Zora arrived. The 12 council members shouted over each other, their hair moving wildly in all directions. Some pointed at the large screen showing the strange ships. Others waved data tablets with information about these humans. Silence. Zora's voice rang through the chamber. The council members stopped shouting. They turned to face their princess, bowing slightly. "What do we know about them?" Zora asked. Elder Vin stepped forward. The old Silesian's white hair moved slowly, showing his careful control. "They have 5 ships, Your Highness. Their technology is different from ours. Less advanced in some ways, more advanced in others. They say they come in peace." "And you believe them?" Zora asked. "We detected no weapons ready on their ships," Captain Kell reported. But what?" Kell looked nervous. "Our sensors detected something strange an hour ago. A small object entered our atmosphere. It landed in the forest near the palace." Zora's hair suddenly stopped moving. "Are you saying someone is already on Silesia?" "Yes, Your Highness. We think a human is already here." The council erupted in shouts again. Some wanted to send guards to find the human. Others wanted to shoot down the ships above. A few suggested hiding the whole planet with their cloaking technology. But Zora wasn't listening anymore. Something felt wrong. Different. Like a change in the air before a storm. "Keep talking," she told the council. "I need some air." Before anyone could stop her, Zora slipped out of the council chamber. Her feet carried her through the palace's crystal halls and out into the garden. The 3 moons lit up the flowers that glowed in different colors. That's when she heard it, a small sound like someone trying not to make any noise. Zora moved quietly between the glowing trees. Her heart beat faster. The sound came again, from behind a large blue bush. She stepped around the bush and froze. There, lying on the ground, was a creature she had never seen before. It looked almost Silesian, but its skin was brown instead of silver. It had no floating hair, just short dark stuff on its head that didn't move at all. It wore some kind of dark suit with many pockets. The creature was hurt. Red liquid, blood, came from its leg. As Zora watched, the creature opened its eyes. They were brown, so different from Silesian purple ones. Those eyes went wide at the sight of her. "Please," the creature said in a rough voice. Don't call your guards." Zora's hair swirled in surprise. "You speak our language." "Universal translator." The creature touched its ear. "I'm human. My name is Jake Chen. I'm not here to hurt anyone. He tried to move and winced in pain." "You're injured," Zora said. "Yeah. Landed wrong. Stupid mistake." Jake tried to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. "Look, I know this looks bad. A human soldier sneaking onto your planet. But there's something you need to know. Something important. Your people are in danger. All of us are in." Suddenly, alarms started blaring throughout the palace. Red lights flashed in the garden. Warning, warning. The palace computer's voice boomed. Unknown objects detected entering system. Multiple unknown objects. Jake's face went pale. No, he whispered. They followed us. They actually followed us here. Who? Zara asked, her hair now whipping around her head in fear. Who followed you? Before Jake could answer, the sky lit up with new lights. But these weren't the peaceful lights of the human ships. These lights were red, and there were hundreds of them. Princess Zara had never touched a human before. Their skin felt warm, much warmer than Silesian skin. As she helped Jake limp into a hidden garden shed, she noticed other strange things about him. He breathed faster than her people did. His heartbeat sounded like drums instead of the soft chimes of Silesian hearts. Those ships, Zara whispered as she helped Jake sit on a pile of soft glowing moss. What are they? Jake's face grew dark. They're called the Dark Swarm. Imagine a virus that can think, that can build ships, that can. He stopped, pain crossing his face as he shifted his injured leg. Zara's hair moved with curiosity as she examined his wound. Unlike Silesians who had silver blood, Jake's blood was bright red. She pulled out her personal medical scanner, a gift from her mother before she died. Your blood cells, she gasped, looking at the scanner's display. They're so different. They carry iron. Yeah, Jake managed a small laugh. We're basically walking rust factories. Look, Princess, I need to tell you. The shed's door burst open. Captain Kell stood there, weapon raised. Your Highness, get away from that creature. But something amazing happened. Before Kell could fire, Zara's hair wrapped around his weapon and pulled it away. Even she looked surprised. Silesian hair could move with emotions, but using it like this was rare. Only the royal family had such control. He's not our enemy, Kell, Zara said firmly. The real enemy is up there. She pointed to the red lights that now filled the sky. Jake tried to stand but stumbled. The Dark Swarm. They don't just destroy planets. They infect them, turn everything into their own kind of life. They've already taken 12 human worlds. We came here because... He looked at Zara with desperate eyes. Because we detected something in Silesian DNA that might be able to stop them. Suddenly, the ground shook. One of the red lights had shot something at the planet. Spores, Jake whispered in horror. They're launching spores, if even one hits. But something else amazing happened. As the spores streaked toward them, the glowing flowers in the garden all turned toward it. They released a cloud of shimmering pollen that rose up and dissolved the spore completely. Jake stared in shock. How? Our plants evolved to protect us, Zara explained. It's why we stayed hidden. Why we built our world this way. Our entire ecosystem is connected, helping each other survive. The medical scanner in her hand beeped. It had finished its analysis of Jake's blood and showed something shocking. The scanner's screen flashed with warning symbols. Jake, Zara's voice shook. Your DNA. It's not just human anymore. There's something else. Something that looks like. Like what? Like Silesian DNA. But that's impossible unless... Her purple eyes went wide. Unless humans and Silesians once. Another explosion rocked the garden. This time, a voice boomed from above. A horrible voice that sounded like a million insects speaking together. Primitive life forms. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to a swarm. Resistance is. The voice cut off. One of the human ships had fired something that disrupted the transmission. Captain Kell looked between Jake and Zara. Your Highness, the Council is activating the planetary shields, but they're saying the human ships must leave or be locked out. We have to decide now. Zara's hair swirled as she made the fastest, biggest decision of her life. Help me with him, Kell. We're taking him to the ancient archives. The archives, Kell gasped. But those are forbidden to outsiders. Not anymore, Zora said, supporting Jake on one side while Kel reluctantly helped on the other. Because I think I just discovered why the Dark Swarm really came here. And why humans found us after all these years. Jake looked at her with confusion. What do you mean? I think, Zora said as they hurried through the glowing garden, that humans didn't just find us by accident. I think you were drawn here. Because a long time ago, our peoples weren't separate at all. We were one. Above them, the red ships of the Dark Swarm clashed with human vessels in orbit. The sky burned with explosions that looked like evil stars being born. And deep beneath the palace, something ancient stirred in the archives. Something that had waited millennia for humans and Silesians to find each other again. The ancient archives looked like a forest made of crystal. Tall columns of transparent material rose from floor to ceiling, each one filled with swirling lights that contained thousands of years of Silesian history. But Princess Zora wasn't interested in the columns everyone could see. She was looking for the secret one her mother had told her about. There, she said, helping Jake limp toward a dark corner. Captain Kel followed them nervously, his weapon ready. Jake's leg had started healing unusually fast after Zora had used her medical scanner on him. How is this possible? He asked, looking at his wound. The edges were turning silver like Silesian skin. The scanner didn't just examine you, Zora explained. It activated something in your DNA, something that was sleeping. She pressed her hand against what looked like a solid wall. It rippled like water, and a hidden door appeared. Behind it was a single crystal column that glowed with deep purple light. The first memory, Kel whispered in awe. The records from before we hid our world. Suddenly, the whole archive shook. Above them, the battle between human ships and the Dark Swarm raged on. The planetary shields were holding, but for how long? Zora placed her hand on the purple crystal. Her hair began to glow the same color, and images appeared in the air around them. They saw a past Earth, thousands of years ago. A great disaster was coming. A massive dark cloud moving through space, consuming worlds. The humans of that time found they couldn't fight it alone, but they discovered another species that could help them, the Silesians. Together, our ancestors created a weapon. Zora said, watching the images. They combined human adaptability with Silesian biotechnology, but using it would change both our peoples forever. So they made a choice. The images showed the human Silesian weapon destroying most of the Dark Swarm. But it also changed the survivors of both species. Humans lost their connection to Silesian biology, becoming fully earthbound. Silesians developed their moving hair and purple eyes, their bodies becoming more energy than matter. They separated, Jake realized, to protect both species in case the Dark Swarm ever returned. And now they have returned, said a new voice. Everyone turned. Elder Vin stood in the doorway, but something was wrong. Black veins crawled across his silver skin. His hair moved like angry snakes. And this time, he said in a voice that wasn't quite his own, "We will not fail to consume you all." Kel raised his weapon, but tentacles of darkness shot from Vin's body, knocking it away. More tentacles grabbed Kel, dragging him toward the corrupted elder. No, Zora's hair glowed brighter than ever. She reached out, and to everyone's shock, beams of purple light shot from her hands. They cut through Vin's dark tentacles, freeing Kel. Jake stumbled forward, his injured leg suddenly strong. His eyes had started turning purple at the edges, and silver patterns appeared on his skin. "The weapon," he said. "It wasn't just a weapon, was it? It was an evolution, a way for humans and Silesians to become stronger together." Vin's body began to change, turning into something horrible, half Dark Swarm, half Silesian. "You cannot stop the evolution we offer. All will join the swarm." But Zora had seen enough in the first memory. She grabbed Jake's hand. Where their skin touched, light and energy swirled together. "You're wrong," she said to the thing that had been Vin. Evolution isn't about consuming others. It's about growing together. Jake, the scanner. Give it to me. Jake pulled out the medical scanner. Zara's hair wrapped around it, and purple light filled its screen. The same light that filled the first memory. The light of human and Silesian DNA working together. The corrupted Vin charged at them, but Zara pointed the scanner like a weapon. She pressed the activation button. The archives erupted with blinding light. When it faded, Vin lay unconscious on the floor, the dark swarm corruption burning away from his body. But something else was happening. The light had connected to the planetary shields somehow. All across Silesia, gardens were glowing. The plants were changing, evolving, becoming something new. And up in orbit, the human ship's sensors detected something impossible. The dark swarm vessels were starting to break down, their biological components rejecting their own evolution. "We did it," Jake said, looking at his hands. Silver patterns now covered half his body, and his eyes glowed slightly purple. "We." But before he could finish, alarms blared throughout the archives. The palace computer's voice echoed. "Warning! Warning! Dark swarm flagship detected. Planetary collision course imminent. Impact in 5 minutes." Zara and Jake looked at each other. They had won the first battle, but the war wasn't over. The dark swarm had one last, desperate move to make. And this time, saving Silesia would take more than just evolution. It would take sacrifice. 5 minutes wasn't much time to save a world. Princess Zara and Jake ran through the crystal halls of the palace, their footsteps echoing off the walls. Behind them, Captain Kell dragged the unconscious Elder Vin. "The flagship is 4 kilometers long," Jake said, his newly purple-tinged eyes reading Silesian data screens as they passed. "It's like a living mountain made of metal and flesh." Zara's glowing hair streamed behind her as she ran. "We need to get to the heart chamber. It's where we control the planetary shields." But when they reached the chamber's massive doors, they found chaos. Palace guards lay unconscious on the floor. Dark veins covered the walls like infected blood vessels. "More corrupted Silesians," Kell warned, drawing his weapon. Inside the heart chamber, 5 council members stood around the central control crystal. Black tendrils connected their bodies to the crystal, which was turning dark. "Welcome, Princess." They spoke in unison, their voices wrong. "Welcome to true evolution." "That's not evolution," Jake said, stepping forward. Silver patterns glowed brighter on his skin. "That's surrender." The corrupted council members laughed. "You think combining human and Silesian DNA makes you strong? The swarm has consumed 1,000 species. We are the ultimate combination." Suddenly, the ceiling became transparent, showing the sky above. The dark swarm flagship appeared through the clouds, a massive thing that looked like a twisted version of both human and Silesian ships merged together. 3 minutes to impact, the palace computer announced. Zara looked at the darkening control crystal, then at Jake. "The scanner," she said. "It's not just a medical tool anymore." When it connected to the first memory, Jake nodded, understanding. He pulled out the scanner, which now pulsed with purple light. "It's a key." "No." The corrupted council members moved to stop them, but Kell opened fire, forcing them back. Zara's hair wrapped around the scanner while Jake held it. Together, they pointed it at the control crystal. Power surged between them, stronger than before. Where their hands touched, their skin began to merge, creating patterns that were neither human nor Silesian, but something entirely new. The scanner fired a beam of light at the crystal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jake gasped, "Look at your hair." Zara's floating hair had started forming complex patterns, like living circuits. Light flowed through these patterns into the crystal, fighting against the darkness. But the corrupted council members weren't done. They launched themselves at Zara and Jake, dark tentacles reaching. That's when something amazing happened. The plants from the palace gardens burst through the floor and walls. But they weren't normal plants anymore. The evolution wave had changed them. They were now crystalline life forms, glowing with the same patterns that covered Jake's skin and Zora's hair. The plants wrapped around the corrupted council members, neutralizing the dark swarm infection, but the flagship was still coming. 1 minute to impact, the computer warned. "It's not working fast enough," Zora said, struggling to purify the control crystal. "The flagship will hit before we can raise the shields." Jake looked at her, then at his transformed skin, then at the crystal. "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Maybe we don't need to raise the shields." His eyes met Zora's. In that moment, she understood. "Maybe we need to become the shield," they said together. They pressed their hands fully against the crystal. The silver patterns from Jake's skin flowed into it. Zora's hair circuits connected to it. Their bodies began to glow brighter and brighter. 30 seconds to impact. Kel watched in awe as Zora and Jake's bodies started to transform. They weren't just combining anymore. They were transcending. Human and Silesian DNA spiraled together, creating something that had never existed before. 10 seconds. Light exploded from the crystal, shooting up through the palace and into the sky. Zora and Jake's consciousness expanded with it, becoming pure energy. The Dark Swarm flagship hit the light. And that's when everyone learned what really happens when human determination meets Silesian evolution. The real fight was about to begin. Being made of pure energy felt strange. Princess Zora could see everything at once. Every room in the palace, every garden in the city, every ship in orbit. Beside her, Jake's consciousness glowed like a star. They weren't just two minds anymore. They were a bridge between human and Silesian, between matter and energy, between past and future. The Dark Swarm flagship crashed into their energy shield and stopped. But instead of just blocking it, their combined power began to do something else. We can see inside it. Jake's thoughts merged with Zora's. It's like a twisted version of what we've become. Inside the flagship, billions of absorbed creatures lived as one dark mass, but not all of them wanted to be there. They could feel the trapped minds crying for freedom. Then let's give it to them, Zora thought. Their combined energy began to flow into the flagship. Where it touched, darkness retreated. The ship's surface started to crack, letting out beams of light. But the Dark Swarm fought back. Black tendrils of anti-energy struck at their consciousness, trying to corrupt them too. Each hit felt like ice in their merged minds. Down in the heart chamber, Captain Kel watched Zora and Jake's physical bodies starting to fade. "Your Highness," he shouted, "you're disappearing." The corrupted council members were changing too. The crystalline plants holding them had started to glow with the same energy that Zora and Jake had become. Suddenly, their eyes cleared. "The archive," one of them gasped, free of the Dark Swarm control. "There's something in the first memory we didn't see." Kel ran back to the archives, leaving the recovering council members protected by the evolved plants. When he reached the purple crystal of the first memory, he saw new images forming. It showed more of the ancient past. The first time humans and Silesians fought the Dark Swarm, they didn't just create a weapon. They created a key, a way to unlock the full potential of both species. But it could only work if both races chose to accept each other completely. "Evolution isn't just about surviving," Kel whispered, understanding at last. "It's about choosing to change together." Above the planet, Zora and Jake's energy form had spread through half the flagship. Thousands of minds were breaking free from the Dark Swarm control. But the ship's core fought harder. Too strong, Jake's thoughts were getting weaker. "We're losing ourselves." "No," Zora's consciousness wrapped around his. "We're finding ourselves." Look, their energy had reached the ship's heart. Inside, they found something unexpected. The original Dark Swarm creature. It was small, almost sad-looking, a being that had been so afraid of death that it chose to consume others rather than face its own evolution. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," Zora and Jake thought together. Their light touched the creature. For a moment, everything stopped. Then the flagship began to transform. Its dark surface turned crystal clear. The twisted metal and flesh became pure energy. All the trapped minds were finally free. But something was wrong. Zara and Jake's energy form was scattered, spread too thin. They couldn't pull themselves back together. Emergency, the palace computer announced. Human Silesian fusion critical. Energy pattern dissipating. In the archives, Kel saw the first memory crystal pulse. One last image appeared, a third option. Not human, not Silesian, something completely new. He ran back to the heart chamber where Zara and Jake's physical bodies were almost gone. The medical scanner still floated between them, pulsing with purple light. Kel understood what he had to do. He grabbed the scanner and pressed every button at once. Light exploded through the palace, through the city, through the planet, and up in orbit, surrounded by a transformed flagship and freed minds. Zara and Jake's energy began to change one more time. They were coming back. But what they would become, that would change everything forever. Light and energy swirled above Silesia like a newborn galaxy. The transformed Dark Swarm flagship now shone like a crystal sun, its freed minds floating around it like stars. But at the heart of all that power, something incredible was happening. Zara and Jake were coming back, but not as they were before. Their energy patterns spiraled together, creating a double helix of light that stretched from space to the planet's surface. Where they touched, reality itself seemed to bend. What are they becoming? Captain Kel whispered in the heart chamber, watching through the transparent ceiling. The council members, now free of corruption, gathered around the control crystal. Not what? One said in awe. Who? They're becoming who they were always meant to be. The medical scanner floated in the air, surrounded by strands of light that looked like DNA made of stars. It pulsed in rhythm with both Zara and Jake's heartbeats, one like chimes, one like drums, now playing a single perfect harmony. But the Dark Swarm wasn't finished. Dark ships appeared at the edge of the system, a hidden backup fleet. They were different from the others, built for a single purpose, to prevent exactly what was happening now. All evolution must serve the swarm. A million voices scratched through space. If we cannot have your evolution, no one will. The dark ships fired weapons that didn't destroy. They devolved. Everything they touched started to break down to its basic parts. The freed minds scattered in fear. The crystal flagship's surface began to crack. Even the evolved plants in the palace started to wither. But in the spiral of light, Zara and Jake made a discovery. They weren't just combining two species anymore. They were remembering something ancient, something that existed before humans, before Silesians, before even the Dark Swarm. Life itself had a memory of what it could become. Zara's consciousness reached for Jake's. Do you feel it? Yes, his thoughts merged with hers. We're not just evolving forward. We're remembering forward, they realized together. Their double helix of light began to pulse with new colors, colors that no human or Silesian eye had ever seen before. The medical scanner's screen filled with data in a language that looked like living mathematics. In the archives, the first memory crystal started to sing. The song spread through the palace, through the city, through every plant and crystal and living thing on Silesia. It was the song of life itself. The devolving weapons hit their light and transformed. Dark energy became pure potential. Destruction became creation. Zara and Jake's new form finally took shape, a being of living light with two faces, 4 arms made of starfire, and hair that looked like flowing time itself. Where they floated, space curved around them like a lens, showing glimpses of other dimensions, other possibilities. But using this much power had consequences. Warning, the palace computer's voice was changing too, becoming more alive. Planetary orbit destabilizing. Silesia's core experiencing temporal flux. Their transformation was affecting the whole world. Too much power, too fast. The planet itself was trying to evolve. The freed minds from the flagship suddenly moved with purpose. They formed a great circle around Silesia, their combined energy helping to stabilize the planet. But it wasn't enough. In the heart chamber, Kel looked at the medical scanner still floating in the air. Its screen showed one last secret from the first memory: a choice. The evolution could be completed, but the cost would be huge. Silesia would have to change completely, and everyone on it would have to change too. Choose, the scanner displayed in living letters. Choose now. Above the planet, Zara and Jake's merged form waited for the answer. The Dark Fleet prepared to fire again. The freed minds held their position. Everything hung in balance, and Captain Kel, looking at his changing world, made the hardest and easiest decision of his life. He reached for the scanner. The real transformation was about to begin. When Captain Kel touched the medical scanner, he expected something big. But not this. The scanner didn't just activate. It became a key to unlock the world itself. Every crystal in the palace, every evolved plant, every piece of Silesian technology suddenly lit up with the same living mathematics that covered the scanner screen. Above the planet, Zara and Jake's merged form, the being of living light, spread their 4 starfire arms. Their twin faces turned towards Silesia, and their hair of flowing time wrapped around the planet like a protective embrace. We understand now. Their merged voice echoed through space itself. Evolution isn't a ladder going up. It's a circle getting bigger. The Dark Fleet fired their devolving weapons again. But this time, something different happened. As the weapons hit the time hair shield, they didn't just transform. They revealed their true nature. Each beam was made of compressed fear, the Dark Swarm's ancient fear of death, of ending, of change. Fear doesn't have to lead to darkness, the merged being said. Their 4 hands began to weave light and time together, creating something never seen before, a bridge between what life was and what it could become. Not by force, like the Dark Swarm had tried. Not by hiding, like the Silesians had done. Not by fighting alone, like humans had attempted. But by choosing to change together. The freed minds around the planet started to sing the same song as the first memory crystal. But now the song had new words, human words, Silesian words, and words that had never been spoken before. In the heart chamber, the council members watched in awe as their bodies began to shift. Silver skin gained human warmth. Human DNA spiraled with Silesian energy. But they weren't becoming one or the other. They were becoming something entirely new. The Dark Fleet tried to retreat, but they couldn't escape. The song reached their ships, touching the minds of the Dark Swarm collective. And for the first time in millions of years, the swarm felt something new. Hope. Their ships began to change, darkness becoming light, fear becoming possibility. The weapons meant to devolve life, instead evolved consciousness itself. But the greatest change was happening to Silesia. The planet's crystal core pulsed with new energy. The 3 moons aligned, forming a triangle of power. Every plant, every rock, every drop of water began to vibrate with potential. It's not an ending, Kel realized as his own body started to transform. It's a beginning. The merged form of Zara and Jake spread their arms wider. Their hair of time wrapped tighter around the planet. In their twin faces, tears of starlight fell. Choose, they said one last time. Choose what we become together. And everyone, human, Silesian, freed mind, and even the transformed Dark Swarm, made the same choice. Yes, light exploded from Silesia's core. The planet's surface became crystalline energy. The 3 moons merged into a ring of pure possibility. Everyone on the planet felt their consciousness expand, touching each other's minds, becoming part of something greater while still remaining themselves. The merged being of Zara and Jake slowly separated, but not back into their original forms. They had become something new, something that could walk in both matter and energy, in both time and space. And they weren't alone. Every person on Silesia had transformed, not into humans, not into Silesians, not into a single new species, but into a spectrum of life itself. Some more energy than matter, some more matter than energy, some with starfire hands, some with time-flowing hair, some with eyes that could see into forever. The dark swarm fleet, now transformed into ships of living light, descended peacefully to the crystal surface of New Silesia. The freed minds found new forms among the transformed people. In the heart chamber, now open to the star-filled sky, Kel looked at his new form in amazement. His skin shimmered between silver and brown, and small galaxies spun in his eyes. The medical scanner floated down to rest in a crystal pedestal, its screen showing one last message in living mathematics. Evolution complete. Story beginning. Zara and Jake, in their new forms that were neither human nor Silesian, but something wonderfully different, stood at the edge of the chamber. Their hands touched, sending ripples through reality. "What do we do now?" someone asked. Zara smiled with lips that shimmered like starlight. Jake's eyes glowed with colors that had no names. "Now," they said together, "we explore what we can become." Above them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if welcoming this new form of life into the universe. And around them, New Silesia pulsed with power and possibility, ready for whatever adventures waited in the infinite tomorrow. Not the end, just the beginning.